This session is on Mastery Learning. My name's Dennis Rudd, and to start the session off, you'll click on the red button at the bottom of the screen. In this session, there are two learning objectives. The first is students will be able to describe the basic tenets of Mastery Learning. Second, students will be able to recall the historical timeline that led to the use of Mastery Learning as an instructional methodology with 100% accuracy. Throughout this session, use the red button with the white arrow on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen to progress through each slide. Good luck. The individual who coined the term Mastery Learning is Benjamin Bloom. He was born in 1913 and passed away in 1999. He's an American psychologist best known for the concept of Bloom's taxonomy. Although not a flattering picture in the bottom right-hand corner, he was very influential in educational circles. To understand Mastery Learning, it's important to know the timeline. In 1956, Dr. Benjamin Bloom created Bloom's taxonomy, which is a series of characterizations for objectives for students. In 1968 and 1971, the term Mastery Learning was first coined. And in 2000, Bloom's taxonomy was updated for relevancy in a new millennium. Basically, it was just a swap of the different progressions within Bloom's taxonomy, which I'll describe later in this session. Here we have the original domain from Bloom's taxonomy and the new domain that matches more modern times. At the base, we have knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. And this was used to create objectives that would allow you to create higher and higher levels of thinking and application of concepts. In the new domain, we have a swap. We'll see that synthesis becomes creating and evaluation becomes evaluating. Obviously, in the new times, we believe that creating concepts is the highest level of understanding when it comes to educational objectives. And here's an updated version of Bloom's taxonomy with the new domains, but applying a web or internet or Web 2.0 or Web 3.0 set of tools and resources. At the bottom, we see remembering, which is kind of interesting in that we see a different use of Creately, Ninja Words, Flickr, Zoho, all websites that focus on memorization. We then move to understanding, where we have Webspiration, we have Jeopardy, we have the periodic table of videos, which is using that knowledge that you created and remembering at a higher level, and progressively going to applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. And with each, as we move up, there are examples of internet and web-based tools for educators. So I think it's a nice take on the new domains for Bloom's taxonomy. Very similar to what we've seen with Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences. New concepts and more modern ideas are applied to previously created philosophies or educational theories. To really understand Mastery Learning, we have to understand how it's used in the classroom. It really uses classroom assessment as a learning tool. And in general, there are shorter lessons which are followed by corrective assessments. What's great about Mastery Learning, it has the value of tutoring, which is that one-on-one, that individualized time, which is really when a tutor helps the student. What happens is the student tries to perform a task, the teacher identifies any issues and constructively gives feedback and then correction. And it's obviously difficult to do that at a large scale, but Benjamin Bloom believed that Mastery Learning is the best way that you can apply the concepts of tutoring to a larger scale classroom. And it is easily applied to lesson plans and classroom activities. It just has to be designed as part of the curriculum. Of course, it just does take time and planning. The hallmark of Mastery Learning is the type of assessment that's provided. It's formative, which is you monitor progress during learning, you address the problems immediately, and feedback is corrective and used to master a concept, which is different than what a lot of educators are doing in their classrooms, which is summative, obviously not Mastery Learning, where you evaluate the student after a unit is completed, and problems are not uncovered until the end of instruction, and it's usually used to guide students to the next course. So obviously formative allows you to check for learning more often and apply corrective measures so that the student masters the concept. Rather simple, but where many educators don't often use this technique in the classroom. This is an excellent diagram to understand the process for the Mastery Learning model. First, an instructor or educator, teacher, professor will instruct a concept and quiz the students. If Non-mastery is achieved, meaning that some percentage is not achieved on a quiz or on some sort of assessment. Reteaching and corrective activities occur. And then, of course, a retest is given until mastery is achieved. If mastery is achieved on the first quiz, additional enrichment activities are provided to students so that they gain a higher level of understanding. Very similar to what Bloom's taxonomy identifies. The more they're up in that ladder or on that diagram, the more you're going to understand the material and at a higher level. Not everyone likes a diagram, so I thought it might be great to show you the steps. In order to use mastery learning in the classroom, first thing that has to be done is the student objectives are specified. A valid assessment is used to match the outcomes, and that's when that first quiz is given. Criteria for mastery would be at what percentage does that student have to have mastery for the assessment. Then you create a sequence curriculum set of units so that you can separate this out and provide student feedback on their assessments, and then offer additional time and feedback for students who do not meet the criteria for mastery. So this is just an ordered list that represents a similarity to the diagram that we saw in the previous slide. Although an easy concept to understand, the application in higher ed and in middle school, secondary, can be challenging because teachers may not be trained in ways to create lessons that allow for this type of instruction. So the key here is to, as a higher ed professor, faculty member, adjunct, that you need to demonstrate concepts and then lecture with labs. So if there's any opportunity where you can provide smaller units within the classroom where you can do a quick assessment to judge mastery, it'll make it a lot easier for you to determine whether all of your students can move on to the next objective. What's really great is that you do quick reviews at the end of each class. This could be just an informal way to do an assessment by giving a question that's verbal, doing a hands-on demonstration. If you're teaching technology concepts, you have the students come up to the screen or work in groups to demonstrate mastery of a concept. And of course, make sure that you mark these students as complete. So keep track of them so that you know where they are going. Obviously, provide corrective feedback. When necessary, reteach or summarize again, or provide discussion boards if you're doing an online class that allow you to check for understanding if you're using a blended learning course or you're teaching in person. Just several ways that you can apply it to higher ed. The trick is to incorporate it into your syllabus and into your objectives. And what would a mastery learning presentation be without knowledge checks? This is a true-false question. Summative assessment is the hallmark of mastery learning. What do you think? True or false? Excellent. Summative assessment is not the hallmark of mastery learning. Formative is. Well done. Nope, that's incorrect. Were you paying attention during the presentation? It was a pretty important element of mastery learning. Summative assessment is not the hallmark of mastery learning. One more knowledge check. Who is the educational psychologist that coined the phrase mastery learning? Boom Benjamin, Benjamin Bloom, James Law, or Fred Piteur? Excellent, that's correct. It was Benjamin Bloom. You were paying attention on that question. Sorry, that's incorrect. Boom, you thought it was boom. Close, but not there yet. Try again. Nope, that's incorrect as well. It did sound kind of lawyerish though, didn't it? Try again. Nope, try again. That's incorrect as well. Well, thanks, and I hope you learned something about mastery learning. If you want to watch this session again, simply double-click on the PowerPoint icon for this file and run it again. Good luck!